So I think that really kind of dovetails us into, I think, our first topic of the day, which is 2023 the year to retire for me? And I know that many of you are asking yourself this question, and I really think that there are two parts to this, right? Number one is, am I financially prepared? And secondarily, am I emotionally prepared? And these two concepts really do work hand in hand. So let's just sort of get into this a little bit. We like to think about getting prepared for your retirement is just like getting all of your ducks in line in the right order, right?
Right, like ducks in a row.
Exactly. And so the way that we think you need to start is you need to muster your resources. What are the resources you have available to you to replace that portion of your income, your paycheck, that you need to maintain the lifestyle that you have?
And I think a lot of the more traditional retirement planning articles that you read on the internet really leave off one of the key components of this, which is you're not really looking to fund to your gross income because you had never really lived off of that before. You had taxes to pay, retirement plan contributions to make. You're really living off a net amount of your paycheck. So, calculating your resources based on that number is, I think, the very first step.
It certainly makes the task a little less daunting. So how do you start? Well, I think it's pretty easy. You can do it one of two ways. You can either, if you need to, get a piece of paper and pen, or get an Excel spreadsheet and just list what are my regular ongoing expenses every month. What are some of my reoccurring expenses annually, maybe like real estate taxes, insurance, etc., that I pay annually? Break that up in 12 months. And other items that you have. Maybe you do have something like a minor project that you're looking at doing this year. Maybe you're looking at helping fund some child or grandchild's education, primary or college education. Add all those numbers in, and don't forget lifestyle expenses, which are what are the things that makes your life fun. For most folks, they call it the G's, grandma or grandpaing, gambling, gardening, golfing, getting out of town, travel. So let's make sure that we include all of these expenses to get to a number. And then obviously what we're then looking at is saying, okay, will I need to supplement those resources, which could include Social Security as well or pensions, with a full-time job, maybe part-time job, maybe a full-time job that's less stressful and pays less, whatever that would be. Where's that gap, and where do we get to that number?
And that might seem a little daunting to have to write down every single one of your expenses. So another easy way to backdoor that number we find for people is just take a look at your monthly checking account or whatever you pay, your household working capital account, what account do you pay the majority of your bills out of? If that number stays consistently the same throughout the year, then you're essentially spending everything that you're bringing home, which is okay because most people pay themselves first by contributing to their retirement plans. Or, if that number is slightly increasing over the course of the year, you're actually creating a little bit of savings for yourself every month. Or if that number happens to be decreasing, you know that you've got a little bit extra that we're going to need to make up on a regular basis. So you can backdoor that number without having to necessarily write down every single expense. However, if you do it that way, it is important to make note if you're a planner already and you set money aside for a trip for those home repairs my dad just talked about, and you spend all of it, we have to reincorporate that back into your number too.
Really getting a true idea about how much is your actual spending. It isn't income, it's about spending, which is really about lifestyle. And we also know that, let's be real here, people don't change their lifestyle in retirement.
No, we don't want them to.
No. Typically, what they're doing is they may be changing their spending habits, where money goes to, but not necessarily the total amount that's being done. And frankly, I've never met anybody that spent more in retirement than they did before they retired, because you are who you are, and you tend to live to the lifestyle that you have. And that's all you want to do in most cases is maintain that lifestyle.
You also don't tend to spend less.
We figured that out for a while ago, right? If you tell us that, we're good. We smile and say
Why don't we
they're
just
kidding
why
themselves.
don't we just create a safety net and we'll calculate our numbers based on what you're currently spending, and if you happen to save a little bit, we can always adjust down the line. Nothing's set in stone except for if you're making pension elections, that kind of thing. But
Yeah,
Dad, you had mentioned, first we get to that number. What are you spending every month? Then you need to subtract out all of your fixed income that'll be coming in. For example, Social Security, possibly a pension,